I can't do it either.
It's wrong.
Oh man.
I can go put my mask on again.
I think that you should have one of those little that goes over your ears with like a little Jewish beard that goes long. Yeah. Be awesome.
We'll be getting a divorce soon, so if anybody wants, to get married, I'm looking for a new husband. Preferably has a beard.
The beard is a must.
So, I was just on with Arkansas. They were doing a whole thing with a guy from Louisiana. So I got hooked up doing all these stupid Zoom things. Now I don't have time in the day to get my work done because literally on my calendar today, it's like they're all overlapping, 5, 5:30, 6, 6:30. Yesterday, which is everybody who has a monthly Audubon meeting has it on Tuesday at 7 p.m. The whole country is meeting at 7 p.m.
So Wednesdays are better for you? You can make these, right?
If you're involved, I'm going to make it. So
there you go. Oh. Well, welcome everyone to the first official Indiana Audubon Pints and Passerines. If you're drinking, cheers to you. If you're not, that's okay. And thanks for joining us. So my name is Sam Warren, and I am the outreach coordinator at Indiana Audubon Society. I think we have people kind of joining us from all over, some maybe from Indiana. But this is our first one. We also have special guest speakers, Hannah and Erik from Hannah Erik Go Birding. Yay, they're so excited. While we kind of let people join on, we are live on Facebook. So if anyone wants to comment on the Facebook, just know that it's about 10 to 20 seconds behind. So it may take me a few seconds to answer your questions. Otherwise, I have just a quick little trivia for you guys. So I was trying to think of cool games to come up with that were beer or brewery related and birds. And I just wrote down basically some common in Indiana or anywhere backyard birds. And I was like, what would these be called if they were a beer? So I made up beer names for these common birds. They're not very lengthy or anything like that. And they're common things that, I'm thinking that my mom could probably identify, and she doesn't watch birds. So the first one I have is, for hopefully some of you are from Indiana, I have the Indiana Red Ale. Anyone guess on what bird it would be?
Red knot.
No, it is the Indiana state bird, and it's red. Yes, John, it is the cardinal. My next one I have is the aggressive blueberry sour.
Can that just be a blue jay?
Yes, blue jay. I went simple here, so don't think too far out of the box. All right, next one I have. This one's a little bit more based on how it acts. Invasive and obnoxious India Pale Ale, or an IPA. Invasive and obnoxious.
Darling?
Brown. I tried to go with India. Oh. It is I chose a house sparrow. That one's trickier. If you were on some of our other coffee and corvids, they have a World Sparrow Day that's based out of India, and they celebrate the house sparrow of all things. So all right, next one I got. Orange, lemon, and grape jelly infused tart.
That sounds good.
Oreo. Yes, someone got it. Baltimore Oreo. I know, some of these I was like, I don't know how they would taste, but they kind of sound good. Oh, we have some people guessing on Facebook. Awesome. All right, next one I got. This one's a little more creative. Bourbon barrel-aged stout with blood orange. Very common bird.
Robin?
Yes, it is the robin. I should have wrote whole descriptions of these, but I was like, oh man, that's getting way too intense. I could sit here all day and do that. Maybe on the next one. So I got another blueberry, but this one's a shandy with an orange zest.
Bluebird?
Yes, bluebird. Nice. You guys are good. Okay, I got two more. Oh, this one's a little bit, well, maybe less common. I got the upside down nutty porter.
Nuthatch.
Yeah, I think someone said it. Nuthatch, yes. Upside down, I hoped, helped. And my last one was the classic, the Stoic American Pale Ale.
Bald eagle.
Yeah, I just went bald eagle on that one. I couldn't really describe it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you come up with any crazy ones, let me know and I can feature them on the next Pints and Passerines session. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to Pints and Passerines. We have special guests, Hannah and Erik from Hannah and Erik Go Birding. And we are live on Facebook. So if you have any questions on Facebook, it might take, there's about a 10 to 20 second delay, but you can definitely participate. And what we'll do is just kind of open up for discussion. I have some questions for Hannah and Erik just to get us started, to tell us a little bit about themselves. But other than that, we're basically an hour of pints and passerines. So whatever we feel like talking about. So Hannah and Erik, do you guys want to tell us a little bit about yourselves? Yeah, just kind of give people, not everyone may know where you're coming from or what you guys do.
Oh, I have to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Well, hey everybody, my name's Hannah and this is Erik, and we currently live in Oregon. We live on the Oregon coast in Cannon Beach, which is one of the best places in the continental US to see tufted puffins. We have this big old super cool monolith that is like half a mile from where we're at right now. It's called Haystack Rock, and the puffins will nest on that, as well as just thousands of common murres and cormorants and what else do we get on there? Shorebirds, like black oyster catchers and things like that. So that's where we're at. We own a hotel out here, so 99% of our time is running a hotel, which we forgot to warn you about. If we have a Ring doorbell, so if somebody rings that, Erik might have to run and go help them. But we started birding it's been about 10 years or so. Yeah, so we weren't like young birders, so we're kicking our parents about it. They didn't start us early. But I was in school at Oregon State University and had to take a ornithology course, and was just doing horribly in it because I just didn't care. I wasn't into birds. I was like, I am going to be a mammal scientist. Like, I'm going to do field research on elephants and things like that. So that was the goal. And then I had to take ornithology and started on the midterm. And first question on the midterm is, how does a dark-eyed junco fly? And I must have sat there for like, it felt like half an hour, but it was probably like 5 minutes, trying to think of like, I have no idea what a dark-eyed junco is. And I think I just made up like, they just jump and flap. So at that point, we decided to go out and look for birds on the weekends. And then we just started from there.
Yeah, it kind of escalated from there. We started birding kind of on the weekends a little bit here and there. And then when Hannah graduated from college, she took a few part-time positions up here in Oregon before finding a full-time position down in Texas as a park ranger. And it was at one of the World Birding Centers down there, Benson Rio Grande Valley State Park. So the whole position was to do bird tools, basically. Like there was other stuff involved, but that was basically it. And that pretty much accelerated everything, where it was like all of a sudden now our whole life is birds. And it was awesome. It was fantastic. We spent 2 years down there doing nothing, but she was working for birds. I was not. I was heavy equipment operator, so it was separate. But on my weekends, I was birding, and in the Rio Grande Valley. So that was just mind-blowing, fantastic to do that. Did that for a few years, moved up to Houston, birded around Houston a whole bunch, did 3 years in Houston. We moved to Florida, which is where we were living when we decided to start our podcast. But we moved to Florida. Hannah got a position with Florida Fish and Wildlife as the Great Florida Birding and Wildlife Trail Coordinator. So while she was doing that, I was, again, not doing birds. I was doing landscaping for the state capitol. So I was doing that. She was doing that, doing the birds for the bird trail. And on our weekends we drive, and we spent so much time driving around Florida that we exhausted all the bird podcasts that were out there, like in our drive time in between here, there, and everywhere. So we were talking and having all sorts of just weird, stupid, sometimes not stupid conversations in the car, and we're like, you know what? People might want to listen to some stupid conversations that we're having in the car. So we decided to get a microphone and start recording them. And that's kind of how we started our podcast. We wanted to kind of let people in that may not do like really birding out there.
Yeah, sorry, Eric has to run real quick. But yeah, we would, like you said, we would drive around Florida, and you know, we lived up in the Panhandle. We lived in Tallahassee, and it's quite a drive to most of the really good birding spots from there. There, of course, is like St. Mark's, which is right outside of Tallahassee, about half an hour, and that's a fantastic location. But we wanted to go down to, you know, see the Everglades and all the places that are around like Ocala and Gainesville, and that's quite a drive. And so, yeah, we would drive around, and we thought, you know, nobody really talks about the adventure of birding in these podcasts. Like, they interview experts and they interview authors and talk about like the changes that are happening, but nobody really like talks about how exciting it is and how much fun, you know, just going out in the field and birding is. So we were hoping with our show that we could get that across to maybe people that aren't like super serious listers or aren't, you know, really networked into the birding community, but really want to get out there and go birding. So we're hoping that we inspire people and that we're getting more people into the community. We think that birding should be a common activity. You know, now we're younger, we're millennials, and if we tell somebody we're birders, they look at us like we're nuts. And I hope eventually that will not be the case, that more people will be interested in doing it.
You mean you're not an older person, retired birding? Come on.
I wish I was a younger retired person.
Yeah, that is true. And for those that are unfamiliar with your podcast, where can they go? I know you guys have a website, but can they download it anywhere, or how would they find that?
Yeah, so our podcast should be available anywhere you listen to podcasts. We usually post it on our Facebook and Twitter. We'll use like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and things like that. But there's a really great website called Podchaser, which is it's kind of like the Facebook of podcasts now, where you can access any of the listening services. So if you just type in Hannah and Erik Go Birding, it'll pop up with our website. It'll pop up with all the different services. So you can just Google that, and should be pretty easy to find us.
In general.
Awesome. Oh, Peter, did you have a question? You're muted. Oh, let me unmute him quick. Maybe. There you go, Peter. You got a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. What was the name of that website you just mentioned, Hannah?
It's called Podchaser.
Podchaser. Okay, thank you.
And Hannah, we do have a question from the Facebook. Finn McGowan wants to know, did you ever figure out how does the dark-eyed junco fly?
I don't even think about it anymore. Yeah, I mean,
well, I don't know what the answer would have been going.
Well, I
was
think,
it the flap, 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 and then glide? So it's like they close together and then flap. And close.
Well, okay,
Is that
so
what it was going for?
I'm not an ornithologist, but as I remember it, like this was like 10 years ago. So I feel like I remember there being different flight patterns being called certain things. You know, like how feet are like
Zygodactyl,
yeah, things like that. Like
palmate or something.
I feel like there was a name for the type of flight that it does, which I don't remember what it is. So one of you guys are probably more knowledgeable about it than me. I bird by Gestalt, and so like I know what the bird looks like and I know how it acts. I don't really think about, you know, all the little nuts and bolts that go into it. So I know what a junco looks like. I don't even think about how it's flying. It's got those white stripes at the base of it, you know, on its tail when it flies away from me, and that's a junco.
That's awesome. That's all right. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Just wanted to see if you remembered.
I I am happy to admit that I am wrong about anything. I don't know things. I think, that's how we start our podcast is like,
we are not experts.
We don't know anything.
But that's great. I mean, it gets people, sometimes I know birding, it's overwhelming, especially if people are like listening to a lot of experts and they're like, oh my gosh, I could never know all these birds, Like you said, it's more about the going out and enjoying what's out there and while you're doing it rather than maybe knowing all the small details. Not that that's bad, but.
Well, and that's one of the things I think we hope to get across to people is that you don't have to be an expert to get out and enjoy birds. You could know very little about birds and still go out and enjoy being a birder. I think the goal
you also don't even have to go out to enjoy being a birder. You can just sit in your room and look out of the window and watch the sparrows and starlings and whatever else is coming to your feeders. Like, it's even though we may not like starlings and house sparrows, they're here and they're still fun to watch. They're still birds.
But you don't have to have all the answers. I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point for sure. One of the questions we got in the chat from John kind of leads in, I'm going to skip around in my questions to what are some of the birds or some of the highlights that you've seen. And John's specific question is that he is fascinated with raptors and owls. What species are prevalent in the Pacific Northwest?
So it depends on the time of year, but generally, like our most common raptor we see on probably every third power line or power pole is a red-tailed hawk, and then American kestrels are every opposite one that the red tails aren't on. Down here in Cannon Beach, we have a lot of bald eagles. We have probably 7 or 8 that are living like within like a half mile of the hotel that either have had nests within the last couple of years or just kind of roost there on a daily basis because the Haystack Rock there's thousands of common murres up there, and the bald eagles love common murre babies. They're a great meal. So they're back and forth in the rock all day, every day, especially this time of year.
Well, and peregrine falcons.
And peregrine falcons are up there too.
Yeah.
Quite a few. Owls, barred owl is the most common that we have out here. The barred owl, we always hope we're going to find a spotted owl. We don't, but we're always hoping to find one. But the barred owls are they're pretty much, you can go in the forest and almost every section of forest you go in, you can probably find a barred owl out here, and occasionally great ones, but mostly barred.
Yeah. So, we do have the western screech owls and the northern, or the saw-whet owls.
The saw-whet owl and the northern pygmies out here too. So we have quite a few owls. The raptors, we don't have nearly as many, but we do get like Swainsons and both sharp-shinned and Coopers.
And
osprey.
Yeah, we have a pretty good line on an osprey nest.
Yeah, it's actually there's just north of us a couple miles. It's a one tree has a bald eagle nest, and the next tree just north of it is an osprey nest. And it's they alternate seasons. Like sometimes the bald eagle will end up taking over its nest and using it, and then the next year, a couple years later, the osprey will use the other one. But I've never seen them nesting at the same time. And they're literally like 50 feet from each other. It's weird.
That's awesome. I mean, it's like you can watch National Geographic, just them fighting it out between the nests.
I wish it was close enough we could see more often, but it's just it's up the road.
Yeah, that's right. Close enough, right?
Close enough.
Yeah. How has so obviously everywhere has been dealing with some COVID restrictions and things like that. How is that since the restrictions in Oregon? How has that affected your birding and what you've been able to do there?
Well, we've gotten a lot more creative where we go. So the big birding hotspots in our area are state parks and national wildlife refuges, or at least that's where we like to go, are those sites. There's not a whole lot of like large city parks that are around us.
At least in this county.
Yeah, and so what we've really relied on are logging roads, which always kind of scared me because I did owl surveys on logging roads, and they can be sketchy places to go, especially by yourself sometimes. A lot of teenagers like going up there and drinking and shooting stuff.
Yeah, up at the quarries and stuff. We'll go up there and just hang out and shoot cans and stuff at the quarry.
Yeah, so I've been really hesitant to go up those before. But last year we have a friend in our area that she was like, oh, we have to go up to this place to go see a mountain quail. So she drug us 6 miles up this logging road to go find a mountain quail, and we didn't find it.
Not that day.
No, but it was kind of our reintroduction into going on the logging roads. And so that's really what we've targeted in the last couple of months, since they just like have this cool spider web network throughout our area, since it's such a rural area, that's what I feel like we really tried to go explore those a lot more.
There's thousands of miles in Oregon of logging roads, so you could walk logging roads. Most of them you can't drive unless you have a special key or access from the forest department or one of the contractors that are leasing the land. But you can walk, and you can walk for the rest of your life just walking logging roads in Oregon. There's just so many of them. It's insane.
But we've also tried to hit some of the hot spots that, we normally would go to like once or twice a year, and try to be more regular about it. Like Haystack Rock, it's not far from us, but it's kind of just
you can literally see it from where we're sitting.
Yeah, I mean, we can see it from our house, so it's like not as interesting to us because we're
jaded.
We're jaded to that. But we're trying to be more regular about going out to some of those places so we can notice the seasonal changes, the day-by-day changes a little bit more, and just become better overall naturalists, I think, in that. So we're looking at things other than just birds. There's a lot of cool nudibranchs out there and sea stars.
I've taken so many pictures of slugs and spiders around the hotel.
So I have a question, Hannah. Do you ever get kicked off a logging road like you used to kick me off of the roads at Sheldon State Park? I used to pull over, and I would get kicked off of the shoulders because they would always come by and say, "You can't park here, sir." They were so polite. And then they got to know me, and then they were like, "Get the hell out of here."
I was usually pretty nice about it, though.
You were very, very nice about it. And who was the Cullen? He kept stopping me. Yeah, he kept stopping me too. So I'm just curious if anyone ever stops you on these logging roads and says, you can't park here, because that's.
We have a couple interesting logging road stories. Our first one, we went up the one that's near us the other day, and we ran into a guy that we didn't expect to see anybody out there, because you just don't. It's
middle of the week, middle of the day, like you would think people would be at work, so it's. Yeah. But it was our time that we had. Oh, well, we have a couple hours. Let's go out there.
So we ran into this guy, and he was telling us about how he likes to go and collect agates and petrified wood down at like a stream that goes through it. And then he started telling us about like these footprints that he saw. He's like, oh, I saw footprints like this big.
They got bigger as the story went on.
And he was saying like, I think there's some black bear up here. Like, you just got to be careful, and you got to watch out for
18-inch black bear footprint.
And then he was like, okay, I was looking for petrified wood in this stream, and then something hurled a rock at me. It hit me square in the back. So he led us on to think that he saw Bigfoot up there. So maybe we haven't seen him yet.
This part of your podcast?
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry for the repeat.
I have a friend, actually my girlfriend, whose father used to say, never argue with a man who tells you he saw a 12-foot rattlesnake. It's impossible. You're not going to win.
We just let him talk, say his piece about getting Bigfoot attacking him and all that, and said, all right, well, have a good day. We'll see you later.
But the next time we went, we did run into the Forest Patrol. That property is owned by a logging company, and like Ron said, we have an episode all about going on the logging roads. And so they have a forest patrolman that drives them all, and just to check if trees are down, if people are doing bad things out there. And he was a super nice guy. He saw our binoculars, and he was like, I have a pair of Leicas that, are kind of like those, and I just sent them back to get refurbished. And
he was talking about his Leicas, and he's like, well, I'm just using my old pair, and he hold up his Swaros. It's like, oh, all right. Good for you.
That's his old pair.
Yeah, his old pair. Yeah, it was like, all right, well, maybe they pay you too much at the Forest Patrol. I don't know. You have both Leicas and Swaros. But He was super nice guy. We talked to him for probably 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He gave us a bunch of hints on a handful of other places that we should go that were kind of on the north end of the county that sounded like they'd be pretty good for birding, kind of short hikes in. So that was exciting.
It's always the benefit of stopping and talking to people. Either you get a wild story or you get really good intel from somebody.
Or you find out that the Forest Patrol's driving around with swallows.
Yeah.
You know.
Either way, it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Jackie said in the chat she's gotten her car stuck twice on logging roads, so I can imagine that it's pretty tough back there.
Yeah, when I did the owl surveys out on the logging roads, like we were out there at like 3 o'clock in the morning playing owl calls, and I just about drove my Jeep Wrangler like down a hillside because, you know, they're narrow and there's no light out there. Like, yeah, I think back about that and that just scares the heck out of me. How many times I almost died doing that.
Well, and the roads, they're not well maintained. So if you can drive on them, they're not very well maintained. They're put up in a hurry to do logging. Like that's the whole point. They want to get the log trucks and get the logs out. So it's like utility. Like it's passable as a road, but not really a road.
But they're interesting.
Yeah, some of them are nice, but generally they're not that great.
So since it seems like it's always an adventure on these logging roads, what would you say has been your most exciting bird sighting on the logging roads thus far? If you had to pick one.
Well, probably the mountain quail.
Oh, the mountain quail just the other day.
Yeah, which we haven't.
Finally.
Yeah, we haven't like put that out yet because we're gonna talk about it in one of our upcoming episodes. But so our friend took us out to the logging road last year because she heard about a mountain quail. So we decided a couple weeks ago, you know, there were a couple more reportings of it. There was a Townsend solitaire being reported out there. There was a northern pygmy owl. So we're like, okay, we'll go give it a try.
Like it's a good spot.
So we went back up, and right as I thought I saw a northern pygmy owl flying away, a mountain quail started calling.
Just on and on, just on and on down the hill, probably like maybe 100 or 200 feet away from us. So it's like just nonstop calling. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Finally, after like 6 months or
almost a
year of trying, we
Yeah.
finally found one out there just a couple days ago.
Hey, awesome. Congrats. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what other, just in general, what are some other highlights? I know you touched on some of them, but what are some other birding highlights that you've seen recently or through migration in your area?
Well, it's probably not super exciting, but we had a couple black-necked stilts pop up in our area, and which is a pretty rare county bird for us.
Yeah, it's not unheard of in the county, but it's pretty rare up here in the way far northwest county in Oregon.
And they're just such a beautiful bird. It's fun to watch them. And they were in a river or a creek that goes out to the ocean. And so we just watched them go back and forth, you know, as people's dogs chased them and people walked and spooked them. So that was a lot of fun to see those guys because we don't get to see them all that often.
Yeah. Yesterday I had my first common nighthawks of the year. That was super exciting. I had three of them flying around while I was hanging down out by the sewage ponds near sunset. So that was super exciting.
As one does.
Just hanging out at sunset at the sewage ponds.
My cousin from California came down for Lower Rio Grande. I had her come down. We met. She's not a birder, but I wanted to get her into it, and she will never forget. Never cease to remind me that I took her to the dump to see birds. We were seeing Tamaulipas crows. They were the first year. First year they were back, and she goes, so she got a new boyfriend. I said, well, but has he taken you to the dump yet? Because that's the real sign of love, right? Take someone to a dump. I had a question for you guys, though, because you're much more involved in all the festival circuit and all that stuff. What is the current thought about when festivals are going to start opening up and kind of resuming a somewhat normal kind of schedule? Do you get any kind of input on any of them from that?
I was really hoping that
I thought you would know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. You know, I thought it would be kind of till the end of the year, but then I heard that Space Coast was canceled, and that's, you know, January, February.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard about any other festivals next
spring. I don't.
Yeah. I think most of them are planning on going, but you know, so many of them do need to spend all this time recruiting. So I really don't know. I don't have a good pulse on that.
Yeah, the recruitment for the festivals and trying to plan basically starts as soon as the festival ends the previous year. So we're already into June, and like biggest week, if they don't know they can work, they've already missed a month of planning at this point.
Yeah.
So it's, and then like Rio Grande Valley, they're canceled for this year. But if we get up to November and we still don't know, then they start losing time on next year's, or Indiana Dunes that we're coming up, we're missing time for planning for next year because we don't know. So I wish I knew what was going on in the future, but we're kind of sitting here hoping everything in 2021 starts going the way we'd like it, but I don't know.
Have we slated you back for next year for the Dunes Festival yet, or is that to be determined?
I think Brad asked us if we would come.
I think he asked if we'd be interested. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, we can cock you into it.
Oh, this hasn't killed our chances.
Well, we haven't said anything yet tonight to ruin it, so that's.
I think it in part depends on the size of the event, because I host a hummingbird festival, and last year we had 200 people, and our town has decided we're going to go ahead and try it, but we're going to spread it out. So we're going to have stations more all over town. We're a town of 120 people. And we're going to see if we can do this practicing good social distancing in August of this summer, our hummingbird festival. So
yeah, well, I hope that
the bigger festivals are canceled. Yeah.
Yeah, and just everybody has to, you know, do what's right for them too.
Yeah, definitely. I know we canceled our Hummingbird Festival, unfortunately, but we're starting up smaller field trips, just kind of limiting them to like 10, 20. So hopefully things slowly kind of get back in whatever people feel comfortable doing and things like that. So, and we did have a Facebook question. Someone wants to know what they can expect to see out your way in August. They must be planning a trip, possibly.
We do offer birder discounts at our hotel.
Ooh, in Canopy.
So August is kind of tricky with puffins. They do leave towards the end of August.
Yeah, Labor Day is like last year. Labor Day, like right at the beginning of September, was literally the last day you could see puffins. There was 3 puffins left on the rock the day before Labor Day, and Labor Day there was none. But August, it depends on what time of August you're coming. If it's the beginning of August, puffins are probably pretty reliable. You're going to get common murres, pigeon guillemots, black oyster catchers.
The 3 cormorants.
All 3 cormorants
the pelagic brants and double crested.
Yeah.
Wren tits are another species that I really encourage everybody to come here to see, because this is the northernmost range of the wren tits.
They don't cross the Columbia River in between Oregon and Washington.
That's the weirdest thing.
Excuse me, Hannah and Eric, are you in Clatsop County?
Yes.
Okay, right. I've got a brother who lives in Ashland, so I bought this book at one point. So I'm looking at the county map here. Yeah, Birds of Oregon, by Marshall, Hunter, and Contreras. Really nice, thick book.
Oh man!
But I hadn't, I've just a few trips to Ashland is all I've done. I've missed mountain quail, so it sounds like you got great spots there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all parts of Oregon are wonderful. I'm not exactly sure other places in August, to really hit up. We like to tell people to come here in May and go to Bend and see all the woodpeckers in Bend here in May.
Niggas doing some fun and 3 more bros. 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 3
All right, apologies about that.
Hey, there we go. Now we're clear.
Someone kept unmuting themselves.
Yeah, so,
maybe that's what they were doing, but we're all good now.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, August is, it depends on if you're coming all the way out here to the coast, like those coastal species we mentioned are pretty good. Snowy plovers, you can get them kind of spread. I mean, eastern half of the United States, they're not super uncommon, but up here they're regionally threatened. So they're very, very declining, and snowy plovers are in this area. Like Hannah said, if you go out to Central Oregon, like woodpeckers like crazy, especially during breeding season or right after breeding season. There's, I think, 11 species of woodpeckers that you can get in Deschutes County, which is where the city of Bend is. It's kind of right in almost the dead center of Oregon.
But also other things like scoters and Caspian terns and lots of different gull species. It's, you can spend a week trying to figure out all the gulls out here.
You can spend a lifetime trying to figure out the gulls out here. The Laris gulls, we have Western glaucous-winged, California, and we have a whole gamut of Laris gulls that all interbreed. So,
or you could look at the Heermann's gulls, which are very easy to identify.
Yeah, those ones are easy. Yeah,
and they're beautiful birds, and it's fun to watch them pick on the pelicans.
Is that where the brewery is, Deschutes?
Yes, yeah, Deschutes Brewery is in Bend. Yeah,
I think there's also
they're
good beer. They make good
one
beer.
in Portland. I have been. But I want to go to the original someday.
Yeah, the original's right on the Deschutes River in Bend, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, the Muir Pond is right in front of it.
Yeah. Their Muir Pond Pale Ale that they have is for Muir Pond in front of them.
I think you should do a podcast on Oregon beers.
Oh, I'm sure there's many.
You guys have one right in Cannon Beach, don't you?
We have three breweries here. We have the Pelican Pub, which is probably the biggest name out of any of them. And then we have one called Public Coast, which is actually kind of interesting because it honors the legacy of the Oregon coast being public access and public for everybody. So there's no private beaches in Oregon, which is,
beaches were designated, I think it was in 45?
Whatever
year it was, they were designated essentially highways. So you're not allowed to restrict access to a highway. So you're not allowed to restrict access to the beach. So the beaches are free public access all across Oregon, and you can't put fences up, you can't do anything like that to restrict people from being able to access the beach. And so this brewery, they started because there was a long story involved, but they're honoring that they are honoring the fact that it's a public coast.
But if you come and you want us to take you out for a beer, it's going to be the Bill's Tavern.
Yeah.
It's the oldest in town. It's fantastic. They have a blackberry beer that is it's so good. And it's like hole in the wall, like place that nobody else goes except for locals and people I tell.
And pretty much everyone that comes to the hotel, we tell them, okay, you have to go to Bill's. Really good fish and chips, and they brew their own beer.
Yep.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, speaking of just places in Oregon, what are some of your guys' favorite places around you?
Yeah, so Bend is definitely one of our favorite places. Like we're talking about great woodpecker location and just
tons of breweries in Bend.
Tons of breweries. Just a beautiful place to go. And then next week we're actually going out to the Malheur, which is Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. That's one of the biggest places that most people go to when they come to Oregon. And we've only been there once, very briefly. Got a shorter dowel and kind of left.
We also got yellow-headed blackbird and avocet. We got a bunch of really good birds that were lifers. First time we'd ever seen these birds ever. And then we went to the east and then we saw them all the time. But first time we ever saw them ever was at the Malheur, and it was this is amazing. So, and we haven't been back in 9 years. So it'll be exciting to go there a second time.
Yeah, and see it through, all of the experiences that we had, see it through the lens that we've had since we've been more experienced birders. But what other places do you like going? I really enjoy going to national wildlife refuges. So I try to hit up any in the area. I like doing auto tours. partially because I'm lazy, but also because then you can see, a wide array of habitats in a short amount of time.
There's a couple like really good national wildlife refuge. The Tualatin River National Wildlife Refuge. I'm just gonna stumble over all my words. The Tualatin River, it's an exciting wildlife refuge. It's not a driving tour, but they have a whole bunch of it used to be rice paddies. So there's a whole bunch of
no, it's onion flats.
Onion flats, those are not rice paddies. Onion flats. They a bunch of squared like ponds basically that are all drained basically to a wetland level, and it's fantastic. Ducks galore, like crazy amounts of ducks, especially in the winter, or like not right now, not so much. But spring and winter, there are so many ducks out there. It's unbelievable. And that's up near the Portland area.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else is really good? Forest Park is good.
Yeah, well,
but it's so much park.
Yeah, it's a really
I think
ginormous park.
I think it's like the country's largest by acreage city park.
I don't know if you want to say that.
I don't know. It's gigantic. It's insane.
Yeah, but there's tons of great places here.
Well, shifting gears slightly, I actually just opened your podcast on my phone, and I will be listening soon. So what are your favorite recent episodes you would recommend for somebody just starting to plug into your podcast?
Well, let me see what we talked about recently. We normally drop an episode every other Thursday, and we didn't put one out this last Thursday because of the Black Birders Week, and we wanted to help support podcasts, that are by Black nature enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. And so we really tried to focus on that on Thursday.
Yes, so we spent last Thursday boosting and promoting on all of our social media, all the Black podcasters that we know, and just saying, hey, you should listen to Heike, you should listen to Alex, like all these guys that we know, like you need to listen to these people. They're important, and they're not getting the representation and listenership or anything like that throughout all of the community. So we spent last week doing that.
Can you share a few links in the chat?
Yeah.
And one episode that we put out in February that I'm just really proud of was called The Puffin Protectors. It was an episode that I had mulling around in my head for a while. I'm on the board of a nonprofit in our area that's the Friends of Haystack Rock, and we, are out trying to educate people about puffins and supporting the environmental education that goes on at Haystack Rock. And so we put together an episode interviewing a volunteer that goes out and does puffin counts. We interviewed a member of my board who is just very outspoken about puffins and his support for puffins. And he's actually really interesting. He was the CEO of Dairy Gold, the dairy company. And then he retired and he found puffins, and he put so much effort into all of the support and everything for puffins, which was just so cool to talk to him about that. And then we also interviewed a scientist who came out and did a library lecture for the organization I'm with, and he had some really interesting information about how the science is going into puffin research. So that's one episode that I'm really proud of that we put out.
Yeah. I liked our first episode. So our first episode was all about
from 2 years ago.
From 2 years ago, it was all about like basically a big huge faux pas that we made with a bird that we thought we were super excited, thought it was going to be a state first in Florida, and then it turned out that okay. Our first episode is basically a big mistake that we made on identification, and then we went and figured out that we made a mistake.
The host can use people.
Kaya bilang fuck you. Tapi tempo otak pakai logika. Anak siapa?
You're the host.
Hobi saya, kau dengerin anak bangsat Paris Gang. Muka kayak Paris punya
Oh, we're getting bombed.
patung.
Yeah, we are.
Hi, son. Hello, from.
Hora de
Hold
penes,
on.
fea de mierda, hueona, hija de la masturba burros, come mocos, lesbiana, diarrea de gorda, bigotuda, huevona, teletubi, lubrica pene,
Hola,
petada,
hola,
borracha,
hola, 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 hola.
pedazo de bola de fraile, gorda.
Everybody else, except for
de la mierda,
the
puta.
host.
Cool.
Guys, what's happening?
Profe.
The host can
This
mute everybody except for Hannah.
Yeah, I'm working on it. So, all right. Anyway, thank you for sharing. One of the last questions I had for Hannah and Eric was I wanted to know a little bit about your guys' work in promoting women birders. And if you could talk about, I heard someone mention you have a new podcast coming out about women birders. So if you could maybe talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
Sure. So I am a woman, and I have, been working in the environmental field for the majority of my career, which isn't long. I mean, like 7 years of a career outside of hotel management. And I've had a lot of experiences as a woman in the field that, were great. And I had some that weren't great. And I feel like I never really knew exactly, what options were out there for women and, well, for anybody. Like I didn't even know how someone becomes a guide with a tour company. And, we started talking about like, well, maybe you just get headhunted. And so I thought that's what people did. And then I looked into being a podcaster and feeling like I'm like a semi like low key journalist. I was looking into it like, how does one become a field guide? And I asked on World Girl Birders, which is my favorite Facebook page. If you're not already on it, I talk about it constantly. And nobody really knew how you become a field guide. Some people, there was 1 or 2 women who chimed in who were field guides, and they, said, oh, you just submit an application. And so I went and looked at all of the companies, and I couldn't find applications or, a way to submit them or job announcements or anything like that. And so I started looking to it deeper, like, how does this happen? And it turns out that a lot of times people, suggest their friends to the company because, what's a better way to get in, but, or, that you already know somebody, or I don't know, there's a lot. And so I, as a woman and somebody who's into podcasting, kind of has a platform, I'm hoping that there is a way that I can help more women get into the environmental field or get positions, within festivals or Audubons or anything like that, that we didn't always know that we could ask for. And so I mean, I don't really have like a great statement as to like why, other than I think that birding should be more, have more women in it. And it does have a lot of women, but not everybody feels comfortable with leading or being an advocate or anything like that. And so I hope to help people find their voice if they're interested in having a bigger voice in bird watching, or become, speakers at festivals, or, be on the podcasts and things like that. So I just really hope that women can rule the world. Not that I'm a man hater or anything like that. So I did start a
Unless it's me.
Yeah, sometimes. I did start a podcast called Women Birders Happy Hour. That also spurned because we had somebody write a review that they were frustrated that we were talking about drinking and birding. And so I'm like, okay.
Our original podcast doesn't say anything about beer or anything in the title or in the description. So we started talking about beers a little bit, and then we must have gotten a little overboard on one episode and got a negative criticism about it. So
I decided to move it over to my new podcast. So my new podcast, like I said, is called Women Birders Happy Hour. And the goal on that is to interview women in a variety of different bird-related fields, not all scientists, not all like authors or anything like that. I want to just interview regular birders, regular people, and like how they got into it and why they're a birder and things like that. And also talk about a drink that I craft for the episode. So we came up with some weird drinks for the last couple. There was Lammergeier was one of the cocktails. and you'll have to go to our website to look up the details on how to make that. And I can't remember the last one, but it was delicious. It was basically a margarita, like a raspberry margarita, but it was really good.
Black Cat Birria.
The Black Cat Birria, right?
Yeah.
So I just hope that women can have a bigger voice in birding, and I want to do whatever I can to help support that. And I'm so blessed that, you know, that with birding, it is a tight knit network, and it's a really interesting network. And a couple months ago, I had a friend post on Facebook that she was going to be part of the first international all women's team for the Champions of the Flyway. And so I just posted on her comment and said, you know, like, hey, if you need a podcaster, let me know. I'd love to join the team. And this is a competition in Israel. So, you know, I don't think most people join it lightly. And they were like, yeah, we need a fifth person. You want to join? So we were supposed to go to Israel in March for that. But it actually turned out that, you know, the competition was canceled in its, you know, normal form that it's supposed to be in. But my team, since we were the first international all women's team to compete, we decided to invite all women to join us birding that day. And so we had the first global women's big day, which I hope to continue on in the future. And we did have some men join the team, which was perfectly fine. Anybody that's supportive of women in bird watching, you know, I definitely want to join that sort of thing. So yeah, that's my platform, that I think women are awesome. And I want to be supportive of women in birding, however possible.
I will add that they kicked ass in raising money too.
That's true.
They set goals, and they kept going over their goals and just kept going and going and going. So awesome on you guys.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And sorry, I might have missed it. What day did you say was the Global Women's Big Day?
It was March 31st.
March 31st. Awesome. Very good. Cool. Well, does anyone else have any questions for Hannah and Erik while we have them on?
Yeah, I do. How long have you guys been married? Because when I met Erik, I thought he was just some guy that was hanging around the park. And then he was like really friendly with Hannah, and I couldn't figure out, like, oh, well, they had girlfriend and boyfriend or what, you know? And then all of a sudden found out that they were married. And it's like, it was like the best kept secret in public. So I don't know, how long have you guys been married?
We've been married for 7 years. So Erik decided to shave his beard right at the 7-year itch mark, which was not smart. But he's a volunteer firefighter, so that's why he shaved the beard. And that's why I'm divorcing him, looking for a new husband.
I have to wear the SCBA, I have to be able to breathe.
But we've been together since 2005, so 15 years. We met in high school, and I couldn't shake him, so I just married him. And yeah,
I'm persistent.
Yep. So that's the story of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like somebody was asking what the name of the hotel is here. So we own the Seabreeze Court. I can, if it's okay, I can put a link in the notes there for it. But yeah, it's except for I typed in the wrong.
Yeah. It's we're small, family owned. My family's owned it since 1965. It's one of the last businesses, and family managed in town. Erik and I do absolutely everything here, except for when my parents come and relieve us so we can go birding for a couple days. So yeah, we don't get as much time out birding as we'd like to, but that's the thing about owning a small business, and it's my family's legacy in town, so I'd hate to give it up.
Yeah, we usually work between 14 and 20 days straight, and then we'll get like 2 days off, and then we'll go back to another 14 to 20 days, and then 2 days off.
We're so tired.
No, it's fun. It's awesome because you're not working for a company. You're working for a family-owned business. Your family-owned business. So it's awesome.
And we have some bird rooms, so that's exciting.
Yeah, we themed a couple of the rooms birds.
That's awesome. Do you at least get to time your days off with like the best migration days that you're anticipating?
Well, most of them have been like our days off have been for like going to festivals. We did the San Diego Dunes Festival, so that was a week, or San Diego Birding Festival, that was a week. We were planning on coming and seeing you guys, in addition to doing a couple days of Biggest Week and the Great Texas Birding Classic. So that was going to be about 2 weeks there. And then, you know, we left for 3 weeks last year to go to Europe and Scandinavia. So, I mean, we get some time off.
Yeah.
We just,
So the caveat, we don't get regular weekends. We're on 24/7, but we can take 3 weeks off
here and there
to go on a trip. So that's the trade-off, that we don't get regular days off, we don't get regular hours, but when we really want it, we can have someone cover us for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and we can go off and do a bird thing.
That's not too bad of a trade-off then.
No, it's like I said, it's not bad. It's like I said, we're working for ourselves basically, so it's nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. I like it.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I do have a little West Coast / like Western US bird ID. There's only like 6 birds, so if you want to stick around, you're welcome to do that. But for those of you that are sticking around, there are prizes you can win. And if you're on the Facebook, we went back to Facebook Live. So if you're on Facebook Live, you can also participate. Just give me 1 second to get this live or get this screen share. So I have to admit, I've only been to Oregon once, and it was briefly. So I had to kind of look up like, all right, what are some birds that people might recognize, but not too crazy, not too hard. So hopefully they're not too hard for those of you that never been out to Oregon. If you want to participate and you're on the Zoom, we'll just use the chat function. So make sure you have your chat up. We're doing chat answers. Yes, good question, Finn. All right, so just a little fun. So you can win, whoever wins. We'll just do the first person or 2. If we have some people participating on Facebook, get a point. You get to choose one of these pint glasses from the Indiana Dunes Birding Festival. So the one on the right is the Blackburnian one that was not debuted yet because it was supposed to be this year. So you could get like one that's, you know, pre-released, but you can also have instead the one that has the original logo, which is really cool too.
I like that one.
All right, so we're doing chat answers or Facebook Live, and the first bird, it started off with hopefully an easy one. Just give you a few seconds to take a guess. And I should write down who's got it. It is correct, the Stellar's Jay. This is one of the ones I do remember seeing.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know Blue Jays.
They're the same as your Blue Jays.
So they could also be in like the aggressive blueberry sour phase.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, next one.
Oh man.
Anyone know what kind? Wes, I like the.
Well, I should, yeah, not this one, but this one.
Okay, margarita, yes.
It's a delicious bird.
Finn says they come in kinds. They do come in different kinds, Finn. This is the tufted puffin. I'll give it to you, though. All right. This pretty guy.
Yeah.
Should probably pull up the live. Make sure I'm looking.
We should have mentioned we have those out here at Haystack Rock too.
Really? I would love to see them. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, the males will hang out all summer long, which they'll go up and breed and then come down, and the males will be here all summer. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Awesome. We're just Pine glasses. Okay. And that is correct. It is the Harlequin duck, and apparently you can see them if you go and visit Hannah and Erik out at Haystack Rock, which also, I hope everyone knows, is famous for being from what movie? The Goonies!
Yeah, I'll say, did anyone want to answer?
Yeah. Anyone? We did have to send a few videos over there of I didn't do the truffle shuffle, don't worry, but
you know, my parents were actually in that movie.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think everybody in town was, but
yeah, they got their cameo. Right?
Yeah.
In the car race scene.
Okay. This one.
Ooh.
I guess this.
Yeah. Gosh.
I'll give you a clue. It's a hummingbird.
Brad.
They come in kinds.
I feel like Brad's just trying to be a jerk now.
Over 300 species. Wow. This is on this Hummer. Puffin. Hannah and Erik, do you guys know what it is?
Yeah, that's an anise.
I pulled it. It was.
Or is it a costas?
It is.
Calliope. Yeah. Look at that. Wah, wah.
Yeah, that's okay. I might have pulled trickier ones than I actually thought.
No, that should have been obvious how far down the gorget goes. It should have been.
So two things to me. One is it's small, and then two is the gorget is more. There's more space in between the colored feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Like an Anna's, it's more.
Oh yeah, it's
completely that color, but the calliope, it's got the more stripy looking.
That was interesting. Huh.
We'll look at them more in depth when we go to Bend next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're over in Bend. We don't have them over here.
Yeah.
All right, sorry guys, was checking the Facebook. A few people got this one. Make hummingbird feeders out of beer cans. Ooh, what a great fact for Pints and Passerines. Can we get the description, like the layout of that, Ron?
Send a schematic over.
Yeah, build us a diagram.
The drawing. All right, next guy.
Oh man, those are good.
Google it and be inspired. Hummingbird beer can feeders. Give a few seconds for people to check this out.
Oh, that's what I was waiting for.
We had a couple come from Minnesota and they were looking for this bird and could not find it anywhere. We were like, how can you not find it? It's in every lot. Like I was like, do you want me to take you to see them? And they were like, no, we'll find one. I was like, when they were leaving, I was like, did you find one? They're like, no.
Were they looking, or maybe it's just one of those?
Yeah, they like have binoculars. They walked all over town. I don't know.
Mm.
All right, you guys are correct. Sorry, I gotta jump on the Facebook and it plays it back to me when I look at the comments, so I have to mute myself. This is the buried thrush. You couldn't find one, Ron? Huh. I feel like maybe it's one of those birds that's so common, if you're going to a place expecting to see it, then it's not gonna.
We drove all around the park, and the guy was so embarrassed. He said, "They're everywhere. I don't know where they're at." And it was like a nemesis bird for like 3 months. I didn't matter where I went, I wasn't going to find one.
What time of year was that?
It was during the festival.
Really?
So it'd be what, November?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I know it's completely nuts. And then once I found them, of course, like everything, you can't get rid of them.
Yeah, like July or August, they're impossible to find there, but any other time of year, you're good.
All right, I do have one more, I believe, and this is kind of a bonus one. Warbler. Gave you a clue. Hope you know that. Any guesses on this guy? I mean, there's kinds of warblers. Brad's just being mocking now in the chat. Give me a few seconds here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is the end. It is a Townsend's warbler. Nice work. So we got that. All right, that is all I have for our bird ID quiz. I'll let some people on Facebook kind of chime in, but I just wanted to reiterate that we're super grateful that Hannah and Erik could join us from the Hannah and Erik Go Birding podcast. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah, just for joining us, we're going to give you some Indiana Dunes pint glasses because this is
That's awesome.
so even though you couldn't make it this year, you're still getting some.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We're really glad you came. We had some really good discussions. If anyone has any questions, feel free. I'm just going to double check the Facebook to see who won the trip.
Is it okay if I do one last pitch for something? Okay, so our 2-year anniversary is this next week, I think, or maybe 2 weeks from now of podcasting. And so what we do is we do a secret question at the end of every interview. We ask our interviewees, the secret question, we spring it on them, and then we compile it into our anniversary episode. I say always, but this is like our second time doing it.
Always, every time,
both times. And so our secret episode questions can come out soon, but we want you to answer the secret question. So if anybody wants to participate and answer the secret question, and we'll post it on our podcast as long as it's appropriate. We don't swear on our show. Please go to our Facebook page. I have it all laid out there how to do it. You call into a Google Voice number, and on the message it says this, it tells you what to do, and then you answer it, and then we'll put it in the episode. So please go and do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes. Check out Hannah and Erik Go Birding. It's Go Birding Podcast is the website, correct? Yep. .com. So make sure, and if you're on the Facebook Live, I will put that in the comments shortly after we finish. But just a trivia winner is Mr. Wes Homoya. Congratulations.
He did.
You got the most correct, and we'll be winning the pint glasses. If you just want to let
it
me
was
know
live. You put him over.
And Wes is actually going to be our speaker on our next Pints and Passerines session, which is on June 24th. So make sure you tune in then.
Have your Ashenome cider ready to drink along with me.
Yes. I need to pick some more up. I just ran out. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much again. And this is hosted by the Indiana Audubon Society, Pints and Passerines. We're back at 7 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Central on June 24th. Thanks again, Hannah and Erik from Hannah and Erik Go Birding Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.